You said the biggest issue is that we live in the patriarchy with the toxic masculinity. Just so I know that we're talking about the same thing, could you define for me patriarchy and define for me toxic masculinity? I want to make sure we're talking about the same thing. Go ahead.
I would say the patriarchy and the toxic part is the valuing
Well, hold on, just one at a time. So patriarchy, you use patriarchy alone.
Okay.
And then you use toxic masculinity alone.
Okay.
I just want to make sure that we're talking about the same thing. Can you define both?
So the patriarchy to me is the valuing of men over women. I have no problem with male leadership. I love it. I totally agree with it. I even agree in the churches, it's better, and in general, it's better for the men to be the ones who are out there speaking to men because they just do better.
We have different definitions of patriarchy.
Okay, well, I'm just saying that's my, you asked what my idea of it was.
And then what about toxic masculinity?
And then the toxic masculinity are these guys who basically, they market themselves one way, right? They tell you, I'm fine with this traditional stuff. Let's have sex. That was never who he was. That's the toxic part. They're not marketing themselves correctly. So a woman can't even make an informed decision because she's being lied to from the gate on the first date. Because he's in marketing mode, he's trying to do whatever he's trying to do.
How's that toxic masculinity, though?
I think it's toxic for anybody.
When you say marketing, could you give some examples?
Yeah, I mean, you're trying to sell yourself to a person.
Do you wear makeup?
I wear a little makeup, but I often don't.
Do you have breast implants?
But everybody knows I have breast implants.
Okay, you don't need to.
No, but I'm not saying that you can't put on your best face. But obviously, if
so you're saying men are lying? Is that the complaint?
And I'm just saying that's the toxic part. You asked me what was toxic masculinity.
Okay.
I would say it's toxic femininity too, is us lying and pretending like we're catfishing. You know, catfishing. No, I'm talking about catfishing.
So the thing mostly women do?
What?
Filters. Thing mostly women
and I
do.
would even say
men do it too, but
right. But I would even say that that's a woman being actually masculine. Oh. That's her competitive nature. Femininity is not actually competitive. Mm-hmm. It's not like that. It's very flowy. It's very like we're friends. It's the masculinity that women are taking on and then being competitive.
You really what you do in dating, you don't think that is
no, because I'm
toxic?
100% transparent. I'm 100% real. I'm not lying about anything.
Now,
I might meet him after the gym. I'm wearing no makeup. This is done up because they said get done up.
Wait,
this is not how I normally
That's super weird.
Of your transparency.
And I had a little boob job. Yeah, I breastfed for 9 years. I had nothing left. I got a little something done. Like,
yeah. I get it, but it's super weird that you say that there's no competitive nature, which you have. Haven't you written books? Don't you compete with other people?
No, I'm not.
Don't you? Hang on. Let me finish, please. Okay. Don't you have businesses, and aren't you competing in business? Aren't you taking on these very masculine roles, which you now are claiming that you? Let me finish.
Okay.
Just so that you understand the reason I ask you to let me finish. I don't mind the spirited back and forth exchange. When you're talking in your mic while I'm talking, because of the nature of the call, I can't hear you. That's why I asked you actually to stop, because I can't actually hear what you're saying. So, isn't it so that you're taking on these same masculine roles, which you right now are raging about?
Yeah, I really was. And that is something that I only recently discovered was a flaw in myself. And that's why I wasn't really getting anywhere in the business world, because I was running with this masculine energy, this competition, the way that men do it. And that is actually, I felt convicted. And that's why I switched back into making my money the way that I do. I am a consultant.
As a business?
I switched over to a feminine energy model, which is not.
Which was what? You basically
for example,
sell your body for money.
No, that's not true. For example, let's say I was a life coach. Okay, let's say I was a life coach. Let's say you were a life coach. Okay. Typically, in the man's world, in business, there's a set price, right? So coaching with me used to cost $2,000 for 3 months. I take you through this thing, and it was just cut and dry. Didn't matter who you were, as long as you were willing to pay the price, you could enter my coaching container and I would life coach you. What I found is that was not good for me as a woman, because I had all these guys who weren't serious about life coaching and working through issues. They just wanted my energy. They wanted to hop on a Zoom call with me and take my time as if they were going to be with me.
But working in the foot fetish place, I have guys come in all the time and they want to talk about. They go to therapy with their wife and they go to therapy alone, but then they have the same therapist as their wife. So they sit with me because I have no skin in the game and I have nothing to do with their lives. And they sit there and they talk to me and they're almost crying and they're like, I don't know who to talk to. Like I have all
And
these
that
emotions
is
that I
actually my
can't-
ministry for the most part in my OnlyFans
Ministry.
chats.
Stop saying ministry.
Well,
It's
I'm
not a
just
ministry.
saying.
Your OnlyFans ministry?
No, I'm telling you, men are not as good at accessing their emotions. Men access their emotions and feel safe in a sexual context when you do
Wrong.
it right.
It wasn't very
So
sexual.
let's-
No, but
yeah,
I'm
so
just
let's
saying they
explore
feel
this value.
comfortable with you
Yeah.
because they understand you're not judging them. You're in a taboo
So
space
let's
too,
explore
so they
this
open
value.
up. Men open up.
Hang on. Men are much larger than women and stronger than women on average. You agree that that's true, right?
Yes, true.
Just on average,
True.
not every. Obviously, there's
True.
outliers of women who are much stronger than men, this type of thing. But on average, they are. So they actually have to control their emotions better. They can't be overly emotional.
Right,
They have
exactly.
to control their
Exactly,
emotions because
exactly.
if they become, you have to let me finish. Hang on. Because if they succumb to their emotions, they can do a lot of damage. Not just to the weaker sex, but to the children they're supposed to protect, and also to other men, right?
Yes.
To other men, they can do a lot of damage. Women don't
Yes.
have this same burden. So when you
True.
say they're not as emotional, I think that they're perhaps as emotional, but hang
Yes.
on. I think that they control that emotion far better than women do.
Yes.
And what I've seen from you even is that you seem to have a hard time controlling your emotions.
I'm feisty, yes. And to your point,
Not feisty, trouble controlling
I get it,
emotions.
I
It's
get
not
it.
feistiness.
I get it. We can call it whatever you want.
You can fix her, Andrew.
Yeah, you can fix me. But Andrew, to your point.
No, I
to your
can't
point,
fix you.
But to your
Andrew,
point,
you can
Andrew,
fix anything.
what a lot of men are accidentally doing is instead of controlling their emotion and then having somebody to talk it through, going to the gym, they're repressing it. So it's
No,
like
that's
they're
not repression. So what you're talking about is actually a feminist viewpoint, right? It's not repression for men, nor is it toxic masculinity for men to control emotion. From a woman's standpoint, when they can't control their emotions, everything's going to look like repression. But when you see men explode, that's not a good look for men. When you see when women explode, nobody gives a shit. They kind of laugh at them, right? Because they can't do very much damage. We just kind of scoff at them. We're like, what are you going to do about it, right? Men, on the other hand, must control emotion. They must.
But men have become scared.
Hang on. They must move towards stoicism. And the reason they must move towards some form of stoicism is because they're fucking dangerous. They're
Yeah.
dangerous to everyone around them if they cannot control their emotions. Thing
Right.
is that we've given a pass to women and tried to give this kind of example that women don't have to control their emotions, that it's good to free them. But it's not. Maybe women should also control their fucking emotions a little
should.
bit
We
and
should.
not make everything about them, everything about me, everything internalized to me, but rather to look at things a little bit more logically. And so as we've gone through even your worldview logically, you realize there's a ton of holes here, right? There's a ton of holes in the logic that you have. You recognize this, right?
Well, I think, to be honest with you, if, for example, we got to, for whatever reason, spend a week together. Let's say we got to spend a week together. Let's say that.
$200.
Let's say
This panel is an exhibition of the absence of real men. If a real man showed up for these women, they would snap out of the delusion and confusion and fall into their feminine.
Right.
Feminism equals
Yeah,
loneliness.
true. I totally agree. I totally agree.
You can't totally agree.
that goes
Everything
against
you
everything you
espouse
believe.
is the
No,
opposition to this.
It doesn't. What I'm telling you is there are actually so few healthy, mature, good men out
No,
there.
there's not. That's not
And I'm
true.
not blaming anybody. It sucks.
Then if men
You are a
have
good
all
man.
those-
I believe you're a good man, and I
But
believe
you're
you're
in
a
a
good
catch.
husband.
You're in a catch-22 logically, because if the thing is that you want that type of man, what you would maybe broadly consider a high-value man from your worldview, the only thing that you can produce for him is your pussy, by your own admission. And so, if every other woman you're competing with has the same thing to offer him, why the fuck would he choose you? Can you explain that?
because my pussy is a completely different
gosh.
experience. It has my soul attached
Oh, it's
to
the
it.
best pussy.
That's
out of
fucking
all the hundreds of
disgusting.
millions and billions of pussies.
I'm not
yours
saying
is
it's
just
the best. I'm simply saying to particular men, I am their exact taste.
Choose the mouth that
And
got
it works.
away.
It's crazy.
So I think the whole
So-
point is that there's everybody for,
Cramped in
or
my cock.
there's somebody for everybody.
There's a lid for every pot.
There's somebody for everybody with different tastes, different logics, different solutions or problems and how to deal with them, different viewpoints. And it's all about trying to find your match and the person that you're the most compatible with and the person that you actually trust and are willing to work with long term.
And that's fine, but
She knows it.
by the logic of feminism that you're talking about, it's like it's massive deception. Like you're saying, feminism is saying that women are so empowered and we gotta get our power back and this and this and that. But
Feminism
hold on,
is
hold
just
on.
a branch of the patriarchy. It's toxic. It's just
You're
toxic
gonna need to
masculinity repackaged. That's all
But why
it
are
Yeah,
is.
but all
become so
toxic
I don't agree with
masculinity
it.
So,
is to you,
okay,
apparently, is
women
any
are
man who
literally-
disagrees with you. Any man who you think packages himself in a way that you don't like, you consider that toxic masculinity
Right.
by your own admission.
And
I'm
I
not
know for a
necessarily
fact
making
when
that judgment. I just know I have my particular taste.
Okay, so when I went to college, I literally took a class where I had to sit down and watch documentaries on toxic masculinity. Like it was actually taught to us. That is the epitome of brainwashing. Because before that, I didn't feel that men were toxic. I didn't feel like I
Grid
was
1
living in a toxic
Motorsports
society.
donated